Alright, let's take a quick look at some exam-style questions on negative and fractional indices. Indices basically just means powers, by the way, in case you forgot. And this is for GCSE Maths, but you could also use this for other exam boards. Anyways, so for the first two questions, we have, this is a negative indice and this is a fractional indice. So I'll go in depth for these two, but for the rest of them, I'll just do the quick working out. And I highly recommend before I start working them out. So if you can and if you know how to do them, I recommend you just do it first and then check your answers with the video, because it really helps to learn like that. So anyways, 4 to the power of negative 2. What does this mean? So, well, it basically just means that it's 1 over 4 squared. That's the answer. But where does this come from? Like, it's important to know how to do it. Like, it's important to know those steps to get there and not just know the method. That really helps it to like stick to your brain. Okay, so 4 to the power of negative 2. We could think of it like this. 4 to the power of 0 divided by 4 to the power of 2. Remember the rule of indices? When you divide, you just minus the powers. So this would be 4 to the power of negative 2. This is where you could think of it like this. So this is where the 4 to the negative 2 comes from. Then, what does this 4 to the power of 0 means? It basically, 4 to the power of 0 is 1. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. But the important thing is why. Well, let's take a look at this. 4 to the power of 4 cubed is 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. 4 to the power of 1 is 4. What do you think 4 to the power of 0 is then? Every time we went down the ladder, take a look. Divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. Same way, right? So it's 1. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So 4 to the power of 0 is 1 divided by 4 squared. That is where this is coming from. I hope that helps you to kind of understand it, like to make it stick to your head a bit better. Then let's take a look at fractional indices. 36 to the power of half. 36 to the power of half comes from 36 to the power of half multiplied by 36 to the power of a half. It's looking for two numbers that can multiply with each other. Remember, these two are the exact same thing, right? So two identical numbers that multiply with itself to make the number 36. Because look at this, the rule of indices. When you multiply, you add the powers, right? So 36 to the power of half plus 36 to the power of half, you add the powers. That gives us 36 to the power of 2 over 2, which is 36 to the power of 1, which is 36. So we're looking for two numbers. What number is that? It's the square root of 36. You could write it as a square root of 36 like this, but the square root is the default. So we just often remove this, simplify it like that. I just do square root of 36. And remember, it is very important to simplify your answers. Square root of 36 is 6. Make sure to get the final answer. Okay, let's move on. So this time we have to write as a fraction. I just forgot, kind of, in the exam questions, it'll ask you to evaluate. It just basically means to simplify it like this. So write as a fraction. 5 to the power of a third. We know what to do now, right? We put 1 on top, 5, and we flip the sign. That's all you have to do. All right, then. Let's move on. Oh, wait. Before we move on. 5 cubed, 125. 5 times 5 times 5. That's 125. Even I almost forgot. Make sure to simplify your answer. You will not get the mark if you don't simplify it fully. Okay, moving on. 25 to the power of 0. We did this previously. Sorry, it's not that. It's 1. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. Evaluate. 27 to the power of 2/3. I'll go in depth with this one because the numerator is 2, right? So it's not the same. But you can think of it like this. 27 to the power of a third. Think of it like this. 27 to the power of a third. What would this be? It's 3 numbers that multiply to make 27, right? So this would be the cube root of 27. And remember, don't write it like this. This means 3 multiplied by 27. You have to write 3 in the top left corner, tiny. 3 cube root of 27. 3 numbers that multiply to make 27. So then what's 2/3? It's a third plus a third, right? So what would 2/3 be? Just square your answer. That's all you have to do. 10,000 to the power of 3 over 4. Same thing. Think of it like this. 10,000 to the power of a quarter. What would that be? Well, it would be the 4th root of 10,000, right? 4 numbers that multiply together to make 10,000. Just cube it. That's all you have to do. Okay, 16 to the power of 3 over 2, same thing. Think of it as 16 to the power of a half, which would be square root of 16, which is 4, but we'll simplify that later. And we're doing this, and we have 3 of these, 3 of the halves, so that we cube it. Now, square root of 16 is 4. We're cubing this answer. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. Final answer is 64. Okay, moving on. 16 over 25. Okay. To the power of a half. This is interesting because we have a fraction on top of a fraction. You might think it doesn't work. It's very simple. You don't need to complicate it. It's the same thing. To the power of half is square rooting it, right? Two numbers that multiply to make 16 over 25. Just do square root of 16 over 25. It's not challenging. That's it. But the important thing is to simplify it. Remember, notice that these are both square numbers, right? So square root of 16 is going to be 4. Square root of 25 is going to be 5. Make sure to simplify your answer fully.